Hello my friends, back at the channel, glad to see you here. I can see you in there, I've seen you through this lens, I see you. Back with another video about novels or books that can help you become a better writer, and this time we're centering it on dialogue. Now, many people when I've talked about writing have mentioned that they hate writing dialogue, that it's one of the things that they go out of their way to avoid writing, and that makes the theater major in me very sad because my entire life was dialogue for a very long time. So today I have some books for you that I feel if you read them and really dissect what makes them tick, they will make you better dialogue writers. So let's jump right into it. So one of the marks of great dialogue is that it can help move the plot forward. It isn't just there to sort of talk about the things that are happening, it is actually making the things happen. It's moving the plot forward. And I can't think of a novel that does that better than The Friends of Eddie Coyle by George V. Higgins. I always forget that guy's name. Now, The Friends of Eddie Coyle is like one of the touchstones of the crime novel genre. I particularly don't read too many crime novels, but I made an exception for this novel because it was so highly acclaimed and so well thought of. And let me tell you, the dialogue in this book is incredible. Now, it isn't just moving the plot forward in the way where it's like, oh, I'm going to go do this, and then they go do it. No. Things that are the reciprocity of the dramatic action is so clear in this novel. Like a good example is a couple of cops are not interrogating, but sort of like they're going around to talk to this guy, an informant, right? I don't know why they sound like that, but they do, apparently. And they're meeting in a diner and they're pumping information. And the snitch goes, here they have really good steak here. Now, in a lesser writer's hands, that would feel non sequitur, that would feel kind of awkward, but George V. Higgins pulls it off in such a way where you understand so much about what's happening with the power dynamic between these characters, where him saying that is, yes, I will talk, we're moving the plot forward, but first you have to buy me a steak. So looking for situations like that in your story where the dialogue, without explicitly saying things sometimes, can move the plot forward will not only make your novel more dynamic, it'll make it a better novel overall. So, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, George V. Higgins, read it, love it, understand it. Alright, and this next point of dialogue is something that I'm super big on because it's one of my biggest pet peeves and it's one of my biggest criticisms of many of the books that I read is when characters don't have distinct voices, when they all use the same vocabulary, the same cadence to their speech, and the same sort of like je ne sais quoi about the way they speak. They all just sound the same. And that is what holds many good novels back from being great novels, in my opinion. My hand's over here doing this so you can see it. And one of the authors that I feel gives her characters, see I'm giving it away a little, gives her characters distinct voices and thus distinct characterization is Shirley Jackson. In The Haunting of Hill House, for example, this group of people that have come together to spend X amount of time in this amazingly haunted house and for some reason aren't leaving, like, Get out. I don't know how else to. Shirley Jackson is so good at giving them each their own vocabulary, their own cadence of speech, their own like little, it's so hard to explain. There's this one character that you're supposed to find detestable, and she's talking about this like little like divination tool or whatever ghost hunting tool that she uses, but she's named it planchette because it's like a planchette sort of thing. But she refers to it as though planchette were a proper name. That already, we're getting such characterization through her dialogue. But the accent that Shirley Jackson throws on it when she says it just makes you want to just reach through the page and slap this woman. Like, that's how obnoxious she is when she's like, well, we'll see what kind of answers we get from planchette. So if you want to be scared by one of the greatest horror novels of all time that has nothing to do with the Netflix show, they just took the name so that there was name recognition, and I'm going to be salty about it forever, and you want to also learn how to give each of your characters their own distinct voices and see a really good example of that, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Cannot recommend it enough. Go buy it, go watch it, but then sleep with the lights on. And this last bit about dialogue is going to be kind of not really dialogue, but here's what I mean. Many novels, especially novels that are told in the first person, are being narrated to you by a character who is in the story, right? Their dialogue and their narration should feel the same. Very often, there will be first-person point of view novels that when they're telling you, the reader, the story, they speak with one voice, and then when they're having their dialogue, they speak with a completely different voice. And that drives me nuts because it's the same person telling the story. It's just them being in it or them interacting with it. You know what I mean? So a novel that I think does this really well, where the dialogue and the narration feel like they're coming from the same person, is, and I talk about this book all the time, my light just died, but we're rolling with it. The lights had enough of me talking about A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. When the two characters are telling their perspective stories in A Tale for the Time Being, you get not only a complete separation of these two people, like if you just opened a chapter at random, you would be able to tell which of the two characters' chapter you were in, which is great. But also their dialogue and their narration, it feels seamless, it feels dynamic, and it feels lived in. And it's an amazing book. It's one of my favorites. It's given me the strength to go on when I didn't think I had it. Just read A Tale for the Time Being. I'm just doing this whole YouTube channel just to get people to read this book, okay? That's all I want. That's all I want. Just do it. All right, my friends, there you have it. 3 novels that I feel will make you a better writer of dialogue, because dialogue can be scary. I would also just throw in there too, like, hey, read some plays. Plays are almost all dialogue, and a lot of like the more contemporary stuff, you will find something that you want, something that will be helpful. Just avoid David Mamet. Everyone's like, oh, he's so naturalistic. Nobody talks how people talk in his plays. Nobody's like, you know, the thing, you know, the fucking, I was doing the fucking, with the fucking thing, the thing, you remember the fucking thing, right? Nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. But there you have it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some value out of it, and I hope you will subscribe. I hope you will ring the bell. I hope you will look at my links down below in the link tree that has my TikTok, Gen Insight, my Instagram, Gen_Insight, Twitter, Gen_Insight, and I'm starting to get raring up for the purple app for Twitch there. I'm just starting to get twitchy so that I can start playing some competitive Pokemon as soon as I get, like, my setup squared away. So there's an Amazon wish list there if you want to help me out with that too. No pressure though, no pressure. But as always, I so appreciate you watching this. I so appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it. Catch you next time. Love ya.